There's never a dull moment when it comes to Minnesota sports. Whether it's positive or negative.
The Yankees have swept the Twins.
Minnesota Sports Chat has you covered. Talking nothing but Minnesota sports all year long. It's time now for the soon-to-be award-winning, if only in his own mind, Minnesota Sports Chat with your host, Ross Brendel.
Well, here we go. Welcome inside edition number 216 of the soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by Beans Coffee Company. Award-winning in my own mind, by the way, as that open brilliantly put together by Mr. Manny Hill, which wants to replay again because I'm producing on the fly from the home studio. We'll nib that in the bud right now. Mr. Manny Hill joins me on edition number 216 of the soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat. Please make sure if you're listening on the Apple or Spotify machine, please rate and review. And if you're now finding this podcast on YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment, do all those things that help me grow this fine, independent podcast. Wanted to touch base with Mr. Manny Hill, a former co-worker, a current friend, an always friend. I don't even know what words I'm looking for, Manny. I'm just so in awe of our Minnesota Timberwolves and what they pulled off on Sunday night in Denver. And I know what I was looking for. Former co-host of the Raised by Wolves podcast before the Minnesota Twins hijacked hashtag Twins, Timberwolves, before they hijacked Raised by Wolves. It's good to see you, Manny. How you doing, buddy? I got to imagine you're probably on cloud 9 today after the Minnesota Timberwolves dispatched the Denver Nuggets at Ball Arena in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough weekend. I tweeted this out too on Sunday night. It's kind of a rough weekend for Ball Arena tenants over the weekend, with the Avalanche getting knocked out by the Stars in overtime. That was Friday, and then the Wolves knocking out the Nuggets in Game 7 on Sunday. Yeah, cloud 9, man. That's a perfect way to put it. I mean, this team has just shown so much toughness and character and poise. It's really amazing to see, and this is something that we've just never seen. 35 years of this franchise, and this includes the height of the Kevin Garnett years. We never saw a team perform at this level, given what has been working against them. And they deserve all the credit for this. I mean, you're talking about, you've got, so much controversy behind a major trade that they made 2 years ago in getting Rudy Gobert, and so many people that were down on the trade. I wasn't a huge fan of it when it happened. You and I talked about, did they give up too much? It's not so much the problem with the player that they traded for. It's just how are you going to continue to kind of build a competing roster without a lot of draft capital to work with over the next, 5 or 6 years? So you have that, the last season being kind of a disappointment. And hello, Lainey, by the way.
I was just wondering if that came through. This is my life, by the way, people at the that are watching this pod. When I am home and that cat is awake, she talks and she talks and she talks and she talks. Isn't there an SNL bit, Adam Sandler and Chris Farley? And he talks and he talks and he talks or something like that.
I know what you're talking about.
That is my life. I love that cat to death, but she never stops talking. She wants me to come downstairs and cuddle. I'm a grown man. I just said cuddle, and I do cuddle with my cat. I think that'll come as no surprise to anybody.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Podcast.
There's no shame in that at all.
Back to the Wolves. I'm pretty sure Lady will make an appearance again. She's probably not done talking yet.
But I think when you factor in how last year was kind of a disappointment with Cat getting hurt for most of the year, and then just it never really felt like Cat and Rudy really clicked on the front court at the same time. last year. But then they played the Nuggets really tough in that first round. The Nuggets won in 5 games, 4-1, but the Wolves played them very tough, and they were tough out. And so to rebound off of that, you fast forward to this year, they're the best defensive team in the league. Cat gets hurt late in the year. They sort of weather that storm. They go to the playoffs. They demolish the Phoenix Suns. And then Chris Finch gets hurt in the clinching game.
In one of the most Minnesota things ever, right? I mean, you're still going to celebrate winning, but you celebrate maybe just a bit less as your coach is literally picking his leg up off the floor.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that with everything, and not to mention the ownership kerfuffle that's going on right now as well. Like the way that this roster, and this is a credit to Chris Finch and Tim Connolly for that matter, the way that this roster and all of the players have been able to stick together and really play championship level basketball. Now, I don't know if they're going to win the NBA title or not. I think a lot of people are starting to believe that they can. I believe that they can. But I don't know if they actually will or not. Regardless of that, they played on Sunday night. They played like champions.
Yeah, they did.
Team that had, where you look at them and you say, oh yeah, this is a team that can win the NBA championship. And it's crazy to think about that with it being the Minnesota Timberwolves, given their history. But this is a very real thing. This team is good. They're legit. And I just can't wait to see how this Western Conference Finals matchup with Dallas plays out.
So on the X Machine, Manny, I think you probably saw this. Heck, you already know it because you're a walking sports encyclopedia, especially when it comes to Minnesota sports. Minnesota now 3-0 in Denver in Game 7s. The Minnesota Wild in 2003, the Minnesota Wild in 2014, and now the Minnesota Timberwolves in the year of our Lord 2024. I think what I find most interesting about these Minnesota Timberwolves, and if you want to talk about the woe is us, the Minnesota sports curse, generally what ends things like this, and again, I'm like you, Manny, I'm not saying they're going to end it. Do I think they're going to win the Western Conference? I do. I've been saying that, I think, for literally 6 months now. Hell, I've talked about on this podcast. Go back to last year, about halfway through the season. I said if this thing gels, they're going to play in the NBA Finals next year. So I really want them to beat Dallas just so I can say, hey, look at how smart I am, because we all know how dumb I am. It's nice to put something in my back pocket that I got right. But what I like about this team is there are teams that will say, oh, that stuff's in the past. We don't care about that. But it's lip service. And you can tell it's kind of still part of their thought process, whether they want to admit it or not. Mm-hmm. I truly think this team really doesn't care about the past. And not only that, they're also kind of embracing not caring about the past. And I do think those are two different things. And Ant and Kat talked about it in the postgame on Sunday night. Heck, I thought it was great when they got asked about and I believe this, by the way, there's supposed to be a progression to getting to the top. And the Wolves are not there yet.
They're supposed to deal with heartbreak. They're supposed to deal with heartbreak, yeah.
But I thought it was a good question, and I generally agree with that. I think the same thing's going to happen, hopefully one day, to J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. It's not like when J.J. starts for the first time, they're going to go 14-3, cruise through the NFC, and get to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. There's probably going to be a playoff loss or 2 or 3 along the way before hopefully that happens one day. But I did love what Ant and Cat both said is, hey, Cat, well, we've been losing for 20 years. And also, it's not like they just got to the playoffs last year for the first time and lost. They've been to the playoffs now three times in the last. Yep, exactly. And then
3 years in a row.
Yep, and then you go back even the Jimmy Butler year. They've been there and lost. Sure, they haven't advanced and then lost. But this team has a lot of experience, and you throw in the Mike Conley aspect, and I know he was injured. That's why he didn't play in Game 5. I get it. But at this point, unless he can't walk, he kind of needs to be out there, Manny. I mean, he's just, literally, unless he can't walk and he's walking around with a peg leg or a dead leg, he's got to be out there, even if he's working at 60, 65%, because it's better than having Monte Ellis, who, by the way, I thought was a nice trade, but they didn't really give up anything to get him. He can't be playing 20-plus minutes a night if this team is going to go to the NBA Finals, or heck, even win the NBA Finals. I'll tee you up. You mentioned the Dallas series. This is kind of a two-pronged question.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be disappointing to lose to Dallas, or let's say the Wolves lost in 6 to Dallas? Would you still say, okay, that's disappointing, but a heck of a run? And then to go with that, would you classify the season as a disappointment if they lost to Dallas this series? I'm a big let's see how it plays out kind of guy before I make those assessments. But unless the Wolves are swept by Dallas, which I unequivocally believe will not happen, I think even though the Wolves are the favorites, should be the favorites, to a degree, this is a bit of house money at this point. And I know you can say that that's a loser mentality, but again, think about the franchise and think about the state and the teams that we're watching. They don't get to these points in a season or this far very often. Manny, there's 4 teams left playing in the NBA right now. The Minnesota Timberwolves are one of them. Yeah. Enjoy it, whether it lasts 4 more games, 7 more games, 8 more games, or 14 more games. Enjoy it and enjoy the hell out of it, because I'll be honest, Manny, people like you, people like me, we've earned this. We've put ourselves through decades of crap. I mean, literal crap on the floor for the most part is what we've put ourselves through. So we should enjoy this. But to the larger point, is it a failure if you don't beat the Mavericks? Is it now a disappointment when you look back on the season if they don't beat the Mavericks?
I think it's if they lose to the Mavericks, I do think it's a disappointment. I don't think it's a failure. Because I do think that those two things are kind of different things.
Yeah, I can buy that.
It's a disappointment because I think sort of riding the high of knocking out the defending champions in a grueling, grinded out fashion of being down by 20 in Game 7 on the road and chipping your way back into that game and just daggering them in the final minutes. When you do that to the defending champions and, the best player on the planet, the three-time MVP, you weather that storm. You're sending a message that, oh yeah, we can win this entire thing. So I think if they don't get to the finals at this point, I think that is a disappointment. But I think when you think about big picture for the franchise, it's not a failure, because I said it, Ross, when they made the Rudy Gobert trade. One of the first things that I said was, all right, you made this deal. Now it's go time. Now it's time to compete at a high level. Get yourself, you need to be a championship contender. That doesn't mean that you have to win the championship, but you've got to get yourself in a position to win the championship. And I think getting to the conference finals in the manner in which they've done it, I think they put themselves in a position to contend for a championship, legitimately contend for a championship. And they've done it now in year 2 of the Rudy Gobert sort of era, Tim Connolly era. So I wouldn't say that this is a failure of a season if they don't beat Dallas. But I would say it would probably be a little bit of a letdown, a little bit of a disappointment, because I think that the belief and the confidence in this team now is that they can at least get to the finals and maybe possibly even win it.
Well, we've talked about this before, specifically more with the Minnesota Vikings, but when you get these opportunities, you don't know when they're going to come back around again. I think we all believe that Ant is going to have multiple cracks at winning an NBA championship, and hopefully this is the first one. And yes, I do count being in the conference finals as a crack at winning a championship. It's more of a legit crack if you're actually in the finals, but you're knocking on the door of being there. But when you get these opportunities, you do want to cash in. I mean, you want to cash in. And I think that this is a moment for the Minnesota Timberwolves where, boy, you might as well try and go seize the moment now, get the job done now, because you just don't know. I mean, you look at Dan Marino with the Miami Dolphins. I know, a completely different sport. Reggie Miller, all-time great player, never won a championship, had a couple of opportunities, but never won a championship. Excuse me here, 1 second. I'm getting choked up talking about our Minnesota Timberwolves here, but you really have to, in this moment, cash in because you just don't know when it'll come back around again. And I like in the post game on Sunday night, you have Anthony Edwards talk about, oh, I'm already thinking about Dallas. At the same time, I did kind of chuckle. Cat talking about, oh, well, we're just kind of celebrating winning this one right now. And again, you could poke fun at him. I think both of those answers can be correct, but I liked Ant's mindset. I mean, you're 15, 20 minutes after playing Denver, beating the defending champions in 7 games, and here's Ant Edwards already talking about, oh, I'm already thinking about Dallas, and I'm already thinking about what the Western Conference Finals looks like, and I'm really happy for the Minnesota sports fan who's now going to get games 1 and 2 and even game 5 if necessary, and if necessary again game 7 to have the opportunity to get 4 cracks at home. That's about as good as it can get, and I'm really looking forward to the fans having a chance to basically be on display, not just for the state of Minnesota, but for the entire NBA, because we've talked about it before. Manny's talked about it multiple times as Manny dealing with internet issues. But this is a basketball state. Heck, you look at college teams all across the country littered with Minnesota players and Minnesota talent. So I'm really looking forward to the crowd in games 1 and 2 and just what they bring and what they'll be able to bring to the team. Manny, welcome back to the conversation. 2 things I was talking about. 1, being excited about Ant and the Timberwolves having this opportunity and trying to cash in. And I loved that Ant said just moments after beating Denver, oh, I'm already thinking about the Mavs. I thought it was funny that Cat basically said, oh, we're kind of celebrating and thinking about this one. And I knew people would take shots at Cat for that. I don't think that that's worthy of taking a shot. I think I think both answers there can be right. But I'm really looking forward, Manny, to putting what is, I don't know if you can say it is a basketball state. I don't know where it ranks as far as hockey state, basketball state, football state. But it's a proud basketball state. I was alluding to all the players playing big-time college basketball across the country right now. And just this crowd now, games 1, 2, 5 if necessary, and then game 7 if necessary, to be able to kind of put on display Minnesota basketball and Minnesota as a fan base. I know that has nothing to do with the team on the court, but I think that it's a pretty cool thing for the state to show off and for the fan base to be a part of. Because, Manny, you know this as well as I do. Not everybody watched the first round or 2 of the playoffs. Some people check in when you get to conference championships and NBA finals. So I think that this will be really fun, and it's been a ton of fun to see the state buy into something. I don't think it's on the same level, but the last time we had the state really buy in, I can point to 2 things. 2017 and the Minnesota Vikings Case Keenum run to the NFC Championship game. Then you fast forward 2 years, go for football. This was a go for football state the week of the Penn State game. I mean, you had local TV stations doing countdown to kickoff for go for football. That might not ever happen again, but it's the same vibe right now for Timberwolves basketball, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And we've seen this vibe with the Wolves before, and I think sometimes we forget about it because it was so long ago. That 2004 was a very similar vibe. And we've said it a million times, regardless of what people think of this being a basketball state or a hockey state or a football state or whatever, baseball state, whatever. I think it's just a sports state that I think a lot of the casual fans will buy into a team if a team is performing well and sort of captivating our hearts. And you mentioned it perfectly with the Case Keenum story in 2017 with the Vikings and the Gophers in 2019. That's a team that the fans can sort of latch on to and kind of fall in love with and follow along is you just can't put a price on it. And we've seen it happen numerous times in this state. And I think that's where when people like to argue about, well, what kind of state is this? I just say it's a sports state. It's whatever team is doing really well, like we're all going to gravitate to that team. Ross, when the Wild made the run to the Western Conference Finals in 2003, when it was Marion Gabrick, Andrew Brunette, and just like a bunch of like just scrappy, grinded out players, and they go on this magical run. I mean, that's you just can't put a price on that run. And everybody, even if you weren't a hockey person, you could get on board with that team.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. The Wolves have just been this run that they're going on now has just been great. And the fact that they're in a position where they can like legitimately win this whole thing, like even, with the Gophers in 2019, I think we all kind of felt like this is really fun. This team is great. Maybe they can win, maybe that they can win this division and get to the Big Ten championship game, probably get slaughtered by Ohio State. But like that might mean, hey, they might go to the Rose Bowl. We weren't really thinking, oh, this team's going to win the national championship.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
We weren't even thinking, I think you were thinking, okay, maybe there's an outside shot at the college football playoff. But even if they get there, they're going to get steamrolled right away.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but this team is the Timberwolves are different because you look at this roster, you look at, the ascension of Anthony Edwards, the improvement of Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert doing what he does on defense, Jaden McDaniels being a lockdown defender, Naz Reid. I mean, think about how much the Naz Reid fan craze has been and how awesome that has been. And he's been terrific. So I think this is a team that has a legitimate chance to win it all. And that's what makes this really, really, really special.
Well, I think your point's well taken on the Timberwolves and even that Minnesota Wild comparison. I think everybody knew in 2003 that ride was going to end at some point, whether it was in the Western Conference Finals like it did or in the Stanley Cup. They probably weren't going to win it. Football's a little different. Weird stuff can happen. I guess I kind of thought maybe Case Keenum and the Vikings could win the Super Bowl. I never really believed it, but it wouldn't have been an outright surprise. I think I'll put it to you this way, Manny. I think most Minnesota Timberwolves fans believe the Minnesota Timberwolves can win the NBA Finals in their heart. I think they believe that.
Yeah.
I don't think most Indiana Pacers fans believe in their hearts they can win the NBA championship. Right. And I think they should enjoy the heck out of it. I think you and I were texting yesterday, and I defer to you on Indiana more than me. I'd be surprised if Indiana wins more than a game. I think Minnesota's going to beat Dallas in 6 games, maybe 5. That 5 is maybe a little hopeful. Game 6 means you're doing it in Dallas. But I just think this Minnesota Timberwolves team is that good. I've said for months, I think the only team that you can say in the NBA that is better than the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it's not as definitive as it used to be, is the Boston Celtics. And I think it would be really fun to let Minnesota have Minnesota take a crack at Boston in the NBA Finals and see what happens. The flip side to that is it would be kind of fun if you are to get through and Indiana upsets Boston because you have home court. That would be kind of fun. So yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy it and take it in. I don't believe this is going to be the first time or the last time the Minnesota Timberwolves appear in the Western Conference Finals. I hope this is the first of many cracks at winning an NBA championship, and it would be a ton of fun if they cash in and win one this year and end the stupid drought here in the state of Minnesota of not winning a championship. Manny, just getting there would end a stupid drought of even appearing in a championship series or game. So that would be a ton of fun.
And isn't it wouldn't it be kind of ironic if it's this team, if it's this franchise. Of all the teams in town, that this franchise is the one, considering the history, that this franchise is the one that ends a championship drought for the men's sports in this town. I mean, it would be remarkable. And on top of that, it would mean essentially all of the championships, all of the pro championships that have been won in Minnesota since 1991 have been won by Glenn Taylor and the same person.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's this is just going to be so fascinating to watch and just see how this plays out. And Ross, you and I have talked about this for many years about the NBA, and it's nice that we've kind of gotten into this era now where the super teams have kind of gone away.
Oh,
and teams,
I love it.
And the fact that even franchises that are trying to build super teams now, they're trying to do it and it's not working. That the teams that are really like being built from the ground up and being built the right way, the Denvers, the Minnesotas, Oklahoma City, Dallas made the trade for Kyrie, but that's largely a team that's kind of been built from the ground up with drafting Luka. And even the Boston Celtics, they made the trade for Porzingis, but Tatum and Brown are homegrown guys. Those are guys that they drafted that have been around for a long time now. So it's nice to see that these teams that the teams that are trying to build it from the ground up instead of just putting together a bunch of names are the ones that are thriving in the league.
Well, and Manny, I love that this is, it's been a point of emphasis from Adam Silver that he doesn't want one team winning 6 championships in 9 years. Or, yeah, if you're going to win 3 and 4 years, more power to you, and that's great. But he wants teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Orlando Magic, the Atlanta Hawks. He wants these teams in the mix because it's better for the game of basketball if every fan can sit down and feel like their team has a chance. And you've heard me rant for years that for the longest time I said the NBA was a Ponzi scheme. It was a traveling roadshow for the 4 to 6 teams that had a legit chance at winning the title, and the other 20 plus teams were just there so they could all make money. Yeah. I no longer believe that. And what started that, I think, was going back to maybe when the Mavericks knocked off the Heat. They may have been the first, but what really started it was the Kawhi Leonard Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if you caught the stat that Kevin Harlan delivered at the end of the broadcast on Sunday, is that no defending champion has gotten past the second round of the playoffs.
That's crazy.
Since 2019 when the Warriors did it. So that's remarkable, and it's really showing that I think now more than ever it's really hard to win an NBA championship. And that's why I think it's important to really enjoy this ride, regardless of what happens with the Wolves the rest of the way here. Really enjoy this ride. If it stops at the conference finals, it's a little bit of a letdown, but really enjoy this ride. Look back at sweeping the Suns, a team that was kind of a super team that you just dominated in a 4-game sweep. Look back at overcoming some adversity with the Denver Nuggets, a team that won the championship last year, and they have the best player in the league, and you beat them. You went into their gym and you beat them. Take that in and really embrace that, regardless of what happens the rest of the way here, because it truthfully is. I've said this, and you will probably say this about winning the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl for that matter too. It's really hard. It's really hard to win. Yes. Really hard to win a championship. It's equally as hard to do it in the NBA. And I think that regardless of what happens here, I think you have to really kind of enjoy what we've seen from this team in this run so far.
Well, in these playoff runs, Manny, they're tough on fans. If you're anything like me, I watched the game and then I watched the Score North post-game show, Flagrant Howls, on YouTube. And then I didn't fall asleep till about 2 a.m. and I was back up at 6:30 to get to work. So I'm very thankful for my friends at Beans Coffee Company for caffeinating this podcast and a lot of you listening to this podcast. Beans Coffee Company, they have a roast or blend for everybody. A variety of flavors, light roast, dark roast, medium roast, even caffeine-free if that's your thing for some reason. Order by the bag or set up a coffee subscription. You know it, your cup of coffee is important, so drink the best around like I do. Everybody knows I love that Mikado. I've had the Blue Bean recently. That's also a great cup of coffee. Make sure you check them out, coffeebybeans.com. That's coffeebybeans.com. When you use that promo code SPORTSCHAT, you'll save a little bit of cash at checkout. Again, promo code SPORTSCHAT at coffeebybeans.com, where all orders of $35 or more ship for free. It's a great way to support the podcast. And in all honesty, if you like coffee, you're a coffee connoisseur, this is great stuff. Just give it a try. Just one time, give it a try. I promise you, you will love it. And if you don't, you never have to order it again, but I guarantee you, you will. Coffee by Beans, promo code SportsChat, or excuse me, Beans Coffee Company. The website is coffeebybeans.com. With that promo code SportsChat. Yeah, Manny, I mean, the Wolves are going to lose some games in this series. It's not likely that they're going to sweep Dallas. Though I think they'll lose a game or two. At this point, I think I would be surprised if they don't pay it off and get to the NBA Finals. I do believe, maybe I'm a bit doom and gloom, Manny. I'll be the first to say it. I'll have a heck of a time if the Wolves just get to the finals and win a game and not get swept and make it. And make it, win your game before you're down 3-0. But again, they can win it. I'm not saying that they can't.
Yeah.
But just being me in my late 30s, never seeing my teams really do anything of consequence other than vaguely remembering the 1991 World Series, just getting to a championship series or game would be awesome. And let's take our chances when we get there. But you can't take the pedal off the metal now. There's a reason that Dallas is here. They're much better than the last time that the Timberwolves saw them. I know they fortified their roster at the trade deadline.
They did.
It's a good team. So we'll close with this. I think we all know, as Karl-Anthony Towns says, we'll win if we play Minnesota Timberwolves basketball. And to me, that's being confident and assertive on offense and playing that lockdown, incredible defense. If they do that, that will allow them to overcome those moments where, as Finchy says, the ball gets sticky and maybe they're not being as fluid offensively. If they play that great defense, they're going to be fine. And I believe that they will, over a 7-game series, be better than Dallas. But let's close with this, Manny. If the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves and go back to the NBA Finals, how did the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves?
That's a great question. I think it will be.
Is it playoff Kyrie?
Yeah, I could see playoff Kyrie being a thing. I also think that their front court, while there aren't a lot of household names, you're talking about, Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr., Derek Lively, the really good young rookie who's got a lot of talent. That there are not a lot of household names there, but they're young, they're athletic, and they're
okay, David Kahn.
Yeah. They're young,
well,
and
we're
they're
young
athletic.
And we're learning.
Yeah.
Hashtag never forget that era.
Oh my God.
As much
as you may try, there's just no way to forget it.
Show of hands.
Yeah, my goodness. But those guys could be a deciding factor here, and I think
laundry's done, by the way.
Nice.
If you caught that.
I did catch that. I think, Luka and Kyrie are going to do what they do. You know what I mean? They're both sensational players. They're both future Hall of Famers. They're going to be great. It's in a lot of ways, it's I view it the same way I view the Nuggets series, where you look at Nikola Jokic and you just say, okay, he's going to get what he gets. You just try to do the best you can to try and limit the damage. And, you got to try to prevent the other role players from, really beating you. When the Nuggets did win games against the Wolves in the series, it was guys like Aaron Gordon and KCP who were making huge shots. You know what I mean? We knew what Nikola Jokic was going to do. So I think in the case against Dallas, it's going to be kind of the same, where you don't let Luka destroy you, but he's going to get his because he's a great player. Same thing with Kyrie. We know Kyrie can heat up in big moments. So you know that those guys are going to show up. It's just, can you prevent the PJ Washingtons and Derek Jones Jr.'s and Daniel Gaffords from beating you, and Derek Lively off the bench? If you can prevent that, then I think you've got a great opportunity here to win this series. And I agree with you. I think Dallas will win, I think, at least a game, possibly two. And I think they'll be a tough out. But I think the Wolves are a little bit deeper, and I think that they have They have Anthony Edwards, man, and if Karl-Anthony Towns can and I think going into this series, this could really work in Cat's favor because I think he can be even more impactful on offense than he was even in the Denver series. You know, the Denver series was tough on him because he was guarding Jokic. He was the primary defender on Jokic, and that made it harder for him to be, you know, even though he had 23 points in game 7, it was harder for him to really be a factor on offense because he was expending so much energy on defense. He's not really going to have to do that as much in this series. So I would look for Cat to have some really productive nights on the offensive side in this series.
Well, and you wouldn't know it from his slam to basically seal the game on Sunday night, but he's also still not at 100% if you believe him and the team. So I think that's a good sign for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Manny, and it might be beneficial if the Minnesota Timberwolves are to beat Dallas again, are and if, not necessarily saying that they will, even though I believe that they will. Might be kind of beneficial to do it in less than 6 games. Just get a little bit of extra time and get a little bit of extra rest. I was worried about that hurting the Minnesota Timberwolves after the first round against Phoenix, and it really didn't. They had time off, and they still came out guns a-blazing in the first 2 games against Denver. Manny, as always, a ton of fun. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting up with me as your friend, and I really appreciate you doing this. We will catch up regardless of the outcome. Let's catch up and pod again after the Western Conference Finals and preview the NBA Finals, and hopefully that includes, I still can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but hopefully that includes our Minnesota Timberwolves. It's a mind-blowing thing to think about, because to your point, Manny, it would be so poetic that of the 4 major teams, I still don't know, the Loons are a major team, I just don't know if I can count them because they haven't been around long enough.
Right.
It would be pretty darn incredible if the team to break this slump is the Minnesota Timberwolves after what? 5 years ago, you and I are having the debate about, are they the worst franchise in professional sports?
Yeah.
Look how far we've come, in the words of Rob Thomas and Matchbox 20. Manny, I appreciate it. That'll do it for this edition. Thanks a ton, buddy.
You got it, my friend. Anytime.
You still Manny Hill 84 on the X machine?
That's right. I sure am. Follow me on Twitter, on the X machine, and check out mpsvoices.com for what I'm doing in my daily 9-to-5 job these days.
Love it. Thanks a ton, Manny. That's Manny Hill at Manny Hill 84 on the Twitter machine. X machine. I am at the Ross Brendel. Please make sure you subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Please rate and review, and if you're watching on the YouTube machine, comment, like, and again, subscribe. Tell everybody. Word of mouth helps the podcast too, so please do that. That'll do it for edition number 216 of the soon-to-be award-winning Minnesota Sports Chat.
Thanks for listening to Minnesota
This is the part
Sports
you dance,
Chat,
Manny.
presented by Beans Coffee Company. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT. That's one word, Sports Chat, to save at checkout. Follow Ross on X at the Ross Brendel. Like and subscribe to Minnesota Sports Chat wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review kindly.